Every year, the Institute for Economics and Peace releases its Global Peace Index report. This report is the only one of its kind that measures how dangerous or safe a nation is based on 23 different indicators, including political terror, deaths from internal conflict, and murder rate. The GPI report evaluates 163 countries that account for more than 99.7% of the world's total population. The factors analyzed in the report are grouped into three different areas: safety and security, ongoing conflict, and militarization. The factors used to compile this report include the number of internal and external violent conflicts, level of distrust, political instability, potential for terrorist acts, number of homicides, and military expenditures. As a percentage of GDP, a score is calculated for each of the 163 nations featured in the report based on these factors. The higher the score, the more dangerous the country is, and the lower it ranks in terms of safety. These are top 5 most dangerous countries in the world. Number 5 is South Sudan. The least peaceful country in sub-Saharan Africa, South Sudan is hampered by high levels of internal conflict. Although still violently dangerous, the country has experienced an overall improvement in safety from the 2021 GPI to the 2022 GPI, with a notable decrease in both the number of deaths from internal conflict of 15% reduction and overall homicide rate, which is the country's lowest since 2011. Number 4 is Russia. While most of the fighting in the Russo-Ukrainian War is taking place in Ukraine, Russia actually ranked as the more dangerous of the two countries. This is partially due to the fact that Russian army casualties in Ukraine count toward Russia's level of danger, and partially due to pre-existing economic stresses and an authoritative government that is often notably hostile to its own populace. Additionally, trade embargoes and other international restrictions on Russia have strained Russia's economy and food trade and placed increased hardship on the Russian people. However, it is also worth noting that the 2022 GPI report covered only the beginning of the Russo-Ukrainian War. It is possible that Ukraine will emerge as the more dangerous country of the two in the 2023 report. Regardless of the two countries' relative position, the repercussions of Russia's war with Ukraine were felt worldwide, particularly in the areas of energy and food scarcity, and are expected to continue reverberating through the 2023 report and beyond, causing rises in metrics including food insecurity, military expenditures, and political instability. Number 3 is Syria. The Syrian civil war has plagued the country since March 2011 and has been the second deadliest war of the 21st century. As of March 2019, 5.7 million people had fled Syria, and more than 6 million had been displaced internally. Syria's 2022 GPI of 3.356 can be attributed to ongoing conflict, civil unrest, and widespread violent crime, including robberies, assaults, carjacking, and kidnappings. Armed conflict exists mostly between the government and opposition groups, with little to no rule of law or order in place outside the country's capital of Juba. Number 2 is Yemen. According to the United Nations, Yemen is currently immersed in the world's worst humanitarian crisis. More than 5 years of ongoing military conflict has forced 4.3 million people to leave their homes and put 14 million people at risk of starvation and deadly disease. About 80% of the Yemen population, 24 million people, is in desperate need of humanitarian assistance. Number 1 most dangerous country is Afghanistan. With a 2022 score of 3.554, actually slightly safer than 2021's 3.631, Afghanistan remains the most dangerous country in the world for the 5th year in a row. A war-torn country that has been mired in war, revolution, and civil strife for decades, Afghanistan has a higher number of deaths from war and terrorism than any other country in the world, a considerable achievement considering Russia and Ukraine were actually at war for several months while the data was being collected.